Back to Gadgetplex. We're taking a close look at e-readers today, along with Philip May of Techno RV. I'm Andy McCaskey of RVNN TV, which some of you may already know. We were talking about some of the major divides within the e-reader product line, where they could be either e-ink, which is a reflective technology, or LCDs, which would give you a bright and direct light that comes to your eye as you're reading them. But you know, Phil, just on the break here, I was thinking there's another way that you could characterize them by how they connect to the bookstore.
That's right, and that's particularly apparent with the Kindle. So, if you go to the Amazon store, really the two main ways of connecting. One is connecting via Wi-Fi. So there's a sort of lesser expensive version, which is actually the one that I have, which I think is at the moment about 139. And when you want to connect to the bookstore or whatever, browse the Amazon store, or even connect to the web, you just do that over a Wi-Fi. That can be your own Wi-Fi or a public Wi-Fi. The other version is kind of like an always-on 3G cell phone-based connection. So the advantage of that one is you don't have to be within a Wi-Fi range. Wherever you are, pretty much as long as there's a cell phone signal, you can browse, you can get your books and so on. That's a little bit more expensive. It's like $50 more, I think. So really, again, it comes down to how you're going to use it and what's important to you.
Yeah. Now that's kind of an interesting detail, because in the iPad, you can turn that 3G connectivity on and off if you've purchased that option. And normally I'd leave that off because to try and save, conserve the battery and so forth. So as we go through here, we need to talk about connectivity as well as some of the other features. Let's start out with the market leader, which is the Kindle.
Great. Okay, so again, this is the Kindle. This is what it looks like now. You got to remember, this is the fourth generation of the Kindle. So some of the earlier versions had a number of different disadvantages. This is pretty much one of the reasons why I waited. I mean, can you see how slim that is? I mean, it is just remarkably slim. I mean, even in today's time of technology, I was surprised by how light and how slim this is. So it's obviously a lot slimmer than a book, and it's not much heavier than a book either. So that aspect of it I think is absolutely excellent. The other thing about it that is remarkable is the battery life. It has like a 2 to 3 week battery life. So you almost like forget to charge it, because it just always seems to be working, and you never have to almost charge it up. And that compares to something like the Nook Color, which has like an 8-hour battery life, and obviously I think the iPad has a much a reduced battery life compared to that as well, because of the brightness of the screen, is for one reason. Yep. And then the other thing that I like about it is just the fact that as we've said, because of the e-ink technology, it works in bright sunlight. So if you like to sit outside and read, or by the pool or wherever, you're going to be able to see really easily with this. So highly recommended. Those are, I guess, some of the reasons why it's the market leader. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's right for everybody. So that's kind of just a summary.
Yeah. Well, and I know that my brother, for example, looked very carefully at the Kindle versus the Nook, and he went ahead and actually bought the Nook for a couple of features. One of which we'll talk about a little bit later: the ability to share books with friends and so forth. But if you look just at the Nook hardware, first of all, the black and white model, does it have equivalent battery life to what you would find on the Kindle?
It's not as good. I forget, on the black and white version, it's maybe like 10 days less or something, so quite substantially less. The color is very significantly less. That's a lot less, and but it does have other advantages on the hardware side, though. It does have an expandable memory port, which is interesting. I mean, I guess 3,000 books is a lot, but if you're downloading audio files and want to use it as a MP3 player, which you can with the Kindle, then you might want some more memory. So you can definitely do that with the Nook. But it does have other advantages that you mentioned. It is also slow to boot, from what I gather. So people do have told me that when you turn it on, it can be annoying the amount of time that it takes to boot up.
Well, and of course, it's all relative, as we've become so used to these devices and things that would have been miraculous 3 years ago now become less so, and so that could be for some people a consideration, particularly if you're in an environment where you've just got a few minutes to catch another chapter in the story that you're engrossed in. The annoyance of having that thing to boot up could certainly be a factor. Well, that's perhaps one of the advantages of the iPad, and I've had this for about a year. There are a couple of things that I enjoy if you look at it from the book reading standpoint. First of all, you have the touch interface where you can very easily just flip the pages from one page to another. You have the ability.
I found myself doing that with the Kindle, and in the first week or so, I kept on flipping the screen, and of course, it wouldn't work, and I was getting real frustrated because I'm an big iPhone user.
Right, and I think that's another advantage when you talked about if you are an iPhone user. This is very, very similar as far as the way you adjust settings, and the interface is almost identical. So that may be an advantage to some people. One of the things that I did like about this is the fact that you can go to the store and you can download the Nook. So here I have another book that I've read, and I have several of the books that I've previewed and so forth available here. There's also a Kindle reader that's available for the iPad. So those might be advantages.
So that means when you want to purchase a book, you have the flexibility to purchase from either the Amazon store or the Barnes & Noble store or others.
Absolutely. And so the feature of being able to lend a book that's unique to the Nook is something that I can access here through the iPad. Now, as far as downsides, it is a thicker unit than the newest of. It's a thicker unit than the newest of the Kindles, and it's also heavy. And you wouldn't think that would make a lot of difference, but I find it a little bit tiring unless you, if you're stretched out on the couch, you can kind of use the cover to prop it up if you've purchased the optional cover. But it is a noticeable difference.
And of course, though, Andy, you have those thousands of apps that I use and love on my iPhone, and I think are only bigger and more compelling and more interesting on the iPad.
Well, yeah, that's certainly true. What can you tell me about Google eBooks? I saw those here in the show notes.
So basically, that's I only just discovered it when I was researching this. It's basically a huge database of online books. So there's more than 3 million free public domain books, and literally millions more that you can buy, and they're available as long as you have the right kind of reader.
Okay. Well, you've exhausted my knowledge of Google eBooks, which was like non-existent. But that looks like it'd be very interesting to look into as well. Are there other major manufacturers that you would consider if you were evaluating ebook readers?
Yeah, the one that stands out is the Sony ebook reader. It's been around for a little while. It exists in a number of different versions now. There's kind of the cheap, the medium, and then the high-end version. The people who have them like them because the high-end one has a touchscreen function, which is nice. So you can do the page backwards and forwards like we do on the iPad and on the iPhone. People also like the fact that they're very well constructed. They have an aluminum construction. See, I'm saying aluminum now because I'm American. As well as, I think one of the big advantages of the Sony is the format that it'll support. There's a format which is called the EPUB format, which is made available now and used by the about 11,000 US libraries. So I didn't know whether you knew now, but you can go to a lending library and download or access ebooks as well as audiobooks from your ebook reader, provided you have one which supports this format. So the Sony does, they have for a while. So I thought that's a really pretty good advantage for the Sony camp there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, one of the things we haven't been talking about is price points. How do they stack up maybe for entry level models to get, you know, apples to apples as much as possible?
Okay, so if you're looking at what I would consider to be the cheapest of the something that you should consider, then it's about $140, and that gets you the Kindle, the large screen Kindle, but the Wi-Fi version. There's a Nook, which is kind of a very similar price, and there's also the entry Sony at around that kind of price point. You can then, when you then step up and you say, okay, the always-on 3G version takes you up to about 180, 190 on the Kindle side, and again, the Nook has a higher-end version. You can pay a little bit more if you start getting into color, both with the Nooks and the Sonys, and then really sort of at the ultra high end of the scale, you've got the iPad, which I guess is like $400 or $500, isn't it, Andy?
Yeah, it's about $500 for the 16 gig Wi-Fi only, and then
Right.
they can kind of step up past that point. So a substantial investment and maybe a little bit different class of device, but again, as the phrase says, your mileage may vary. And in fact, that's what we're going to be talking about in our next segment, is once you decide on a unit, what are all the things that you can do with it? That's coming up in our next segment on Gadgetplex. Stay with us.
Got a question or comment for Gadgetplex's Phil May? Send him an email at gadgetplex@rvnn.tv or leave a voicemail for Phil at 877-578-RVNN, extension 703. Follow RV Newsnet on Facebook and Twitter, and you can receive text messages to alert you when we're streaming live by texting RVNN to 72727. That way, you can join us live in the chat room, ask questions, and become part of the RV Newsnet family. Remember, any photos or other material submitted to us become the property of RV Newsnet and cannot be returned. For more TV like this from the world of RVs, head to rvnn.tv.